This vehicle is loved the world over by farmers, by builders, and of course by the armed militia. She loves hers as well, and it's called the Toyota Hilux. Welcome back to the channel, and also this series where I take a car from one of my garages to take a deep dive, showcase it, compare it with the real thing. If you're aware of some of the other cars in her collection, you'll know she does not like an ordinary car, and this is not your ordinary Hilux. This Hilux is known as the AT44. It's a product of a company called Arctic Trucks. They've been around for about 30 years now, and they take 4x4 utility vehicles and they turn them into something much more capable, much more extreme than the original concept. They're most famous for making polar exploration vehicles like the one you see here. Those massive fenders covering the balloon tyres are really the signature feature of the car. Tyres like this not only provide a lot of grip, but they spread the load of the car. Now this is important on things such as sand, but I imagine even more important on ice, where you don't want to cut through and you don't want to find out what lies beneath. I'm providing a few links below because there's an awful lot more to how they convert the cars than just the wheels and tyres. It's a huge and very thorough, long and I believe expensive conversion. If you remember what I think of as the best Top Gear, Clarkson, Hammond and May, in 2007 they drove a red one of these all the way to the pole, and I'll also link below a little bit about that. In game the car is known as the Karin Everon, and let's have a little look now. How does it drive? Well, as you've been watching, the suspension has a lot of movement in it, very much like the Vagrant that we looked at a while ago, the Aerial Nomad. And this really helps. It absorbs so many bumps, and you'll find the same when you drive through the city, which we'll look at later. It doesn't even notice small bumps, small rocks at all. We will ford a river here, but bear in mind there's no snorkel on the car, unlike the real things, so don't spend too long underwater, just get it through very quickly. Now it doesn't always upset the apple cart, as we say in the UK, but you see that bounce there on the suspension. Off-road, that can be the Achilles heel of the car if the bounce just does the wrong thing, and we'll perhaps look at that in a second. Well, she likes to challenge herself, so here's a really steep rock climb. Can the Everon get up here? Initially it appears not, so a little bit of run-up is necessary. Oh, but the bounce, no, that's the end of that. So let's have another go. We need just enough speed for a run-up, but not enough speed to bounce, and then, yeah, that's one hell of a climb after that. Now, unfortunately, this bounce proved pretty much the end of this particular off-road segment. Oh dear. Okay, time to move into the city, I think. Now this vehicle is not a supercar, of course, but it does provide a very decent drive through town. Like a few other vehicles, it will absorb the bumps so well that if you have to do a little bit of off-roading in your on-roading, it's not going to cause you any issues at all. The one you see here has all the performance modifications, and actually the acceleration and the speed are rather more perhaps than you might expect, and we will still take it around a track unbelievably and see how it does. But I know you're wondering, what about the cornering? Well, when I first bought this car, I took a corner very fast somewhere, it gripped really well and just tipped over on its roof. And I laughed, and I thought, that's a really funny thing, I'll get that into one of the videos that I do. However, every corner I took from then on when I was actually filming, the car has never tipped over again. I keep trying, and it just keeps going around the corners. However, you do get that feeling when you drive it of that top-heavy nature, of course, of the car. But as you can see, it's pretty good. On to the track performance. The Everon is in the off-road category, as you might expect, and if you look at Bruff's testing table, you'll actually find it's in 10th place in the off-roaders class. On a 1 minute lap, it's about 5 seconds behind the Maxwell Vagrant, so in no way is the car competitive. You are not going to buy this to win any races. Okay, so that out of the way, how is it actually driving? Well, as you can see, it's actually driving rather nicely. We talked about riding the bumps, and that helps you take the best line through corners. You can have a little upset like I had there with the back coming out, yet even despite the fact that this is a slightly messy lap, in fact it is still my fastest one, so overall it does pretty well. Good acceleration and actually pretty good braking if you just allow for the fact that it's a truck. This lap's roughly 1 minute 3.8 seconds, so compare that with something like a jugular going around in 56 seconds or so in my hands, and that's not a lot of seconds to lose for the completely different sort of vehicle, I think. So not competitive, but a fun vehicle to throw through the city streets. Quick chat about the customisation of the car. There's an awful lot of things you can do to it, and I'm not going to go through the customisation of mine specifically because you may want to choose a different colour, some different parts in the boot, different bars, bull bars, whatever. I will say my disappointment, which is if you want a bull bar on the car, you have to have a front splitter, and of course there's no way a car like this has a splitter. It's in the way of ground clearance, so that's slightly unfortunate. The other main thing to note are the wheels. If you put any wheel on this car other than standard, then it has a thinner tyre, which of course you do not want. So I have done the little trick which you can look up on Google to paint the standard wheels black because they looked really bad in their sort of alloy form. Finally, to rate the car, I'm going to give it 4 stars for looks. I think it looks wonderful, but I do have to take off a star for that front splitter that you have to leave on, and also the fact that you can't add a snorkel to the car. For driving, I give it 3 stars. I'm taking off 1 mark because it can be a little bit top heavy, and another mark because it is certainly not competitive in the off-road class. I'm also going 3 stars on value. It's $1.1 million roughly if you use it as a casino heist getaway vehicle, and that's still quite a lot of money really, I think, for this sort of car. Things like the Desert Raid or the Trophy Truck are quite a lot cheaper and a little bit quicker, or for a bit more money you can get the Maxwell Vagrant, the aerial nomad from a few episodes ago, and that is a lot faster, completely competitive in the class, and drives much more like a supercar, and I think well worth the extra over this car. That said, I enjoy the car, I have no regrets in buying it. If you have one, I'd love to know what you think about yours. Hope you found this informative, and thank you so much for watching.